Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are today. My name is Christian Pepper, and this webinar is Are Your Salespeople Over Par? This is a two-part series. Today's presentation is about getting your sales team ready, and the next broadcast we have in a month's time is about marketing readiness. I'd like to thank the hosts, ENX Magazine, for giving us this opportunity to talk to you today. I'd like to thank you for taking maybe up to an hour out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us. And most of all, I'd like to thank LMI resellers that are on the call. I know there's a number of you guys out there. Thanks very much for your business, by the way. And thank you for allowing us to use this content. This presentation that we're going to talk to today is prepared from surveys that we do with our customers. So the tips and the techniques that we're going to share with you today are actually made in the field by some of our very best resellers. So thanks again for letting us use this content and share it with everybody. So if you're not familiar with LMI Solutions, just a very quick commercial. Our mantra is sustainable profitability. We cut our teeth producing very high quality remanufactured cartridges, and our business is vertically integrated into remanufactured printer hardware, and perhaps we're probably best known for our MPS infrastructure, where we offer a series of a la carte training, marketing, and infrastructure solutions for resellers in the managed print service space to utilize and brand if they find that they have an area where they're not so good on. Perhaps we can provide a service that complements what they're doing. And of course, one of our core philosophies is that we pride ourselves on being an R2 certified remanufacturing organization. What that means is that we care deeply about the environment, and we take environmental responsibility very seriously. We operate a zero waste company. So the presentation today is really kind of the scene can be set by this graphic here, which is our objective out of this presentation is to give you the information you need to arm your prospects with all the necessary training and tools to be successful in selling managed print services into new customers and some existing customers. So, are your reps ready? And I wanted to begin by just throwing out a couple of questions that we'll be discussing throughout this presentation. The first one being, do you have an effective way to train new hires to sell managed print? And the second one, how prepared are your sales reps to distinguish your MPS offering from competition? Now, on the second one, maybe 5 to 10 years ago, this was probably an easier question to answer because you probably had MPS offerings and your competitors didn't. But things have moved on, and many of your competitors in the marketplace today have advanced managed print service offerings. So it's really important that you have the ability to distinguish your capabilities from your competitors so that your salespeople can be successful in the field. And looking at that kind of first question there, in terms of training new hires, one of the stats I'm aware of from our partners is that they have turnover of new salespeople of anything up to 30 to 50% of new hires in sales in this category just don't make it for the long haul. But of course, you've got to invest in each and every single one of those new hires and train them to at least a minimum competency standard so that they can represent your goods and services in your customer base and have the very best chance or runway to succeed in front of a client. And this is really the opportunity. I wanted to put this out because several resellers have said to us that they feel that there are not really a lot of managed print opportunities out there anymore. It's kind of dominated by the OEMs and the big boys in the marketplace. Now, that might be true at the enterprise level, the kind of whales, if you like, out there, whale-type organizations. But this statistic put out by our good friends Petito Group last year says that 72% of SMB surveyed have no managed print programs. So, you don't have to just go out and hunt an elephant. There's plenty of opportunities for you to get pages under management and deliver good value to your business and to your customers in what I would call mainstream America. So now this webinar, we're going to present it a little bit different. Webinars are often just a kind of a lecture, for want of a better word, But at LMI, we try to mix things up and do things a little bit differently. So to get the most out of this webinar, I'm going to ask you to get a sheet of paper or find a clean page in your notepad and write numbers 1 through 10 on the left-hand side. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask each question that you can see on the screen here. You don't need to write them down at this stage. We're going to go through them one by one. And I'm going to ask you to score how well you think your company answers these questions from 1 to 10. 1 is we're not very good at it. 10 is we're amazing at it. And then at the end, when you add up your scores, you can concentrate on the questions that you didn't answer very well, and then that becomes your action plan for the things that you can work on to, to improve your sales team's capability and your overall hit rate for the customers. So some of the common training challenges that we see, I alluded to this a couple of seconds ago, that our resellers tell us that they wrestle with boarding freshman sales reps and getting them up and running faster. Of course, as I said before, you have to invest in every single salesperson and get them up to at least a minimal competency standard. It's very expensive to train people, especially in the classroom. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of your options for on-demand training that have a much lower cost per seat. And then after you've trained sales reps, we've all been to those kind of training sessions where you have 2 days of intensive training, and then you go to the bar, have a couple of Bud Lights, and you forget half of what you've learned. So there is a statistic that says that if you provide tools that the trainee or the student can use that reflect what they learned in the training program, their success rate increases by no less than 30%. So we'll be talking about some tools that you can arm yourself with in your business too. And we're going to discuss compensation plans. Probably the hottest topic that our resellers talk to us about is what kind of compensation plans they should offer their salespeople to motivate them. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too. So some general observations in some of the resellers that we surveyed, that they feel that there's various levels of MPS competency amongst the sales reps, the managers, and of course the business leaders. And it's important to try and get everybody at least up to the same sort of competency standard, especially the sales team. They're out there representing you in the field. Resellers ask us if there's sales and marketing tools available, and you'd be surprised at how many resellers that we surveyed who said that they don't have a formal training program or the ability to share best practices amongst their salespeople, especially when they're dotted around the country in remote locations. And then finally, one of the other topics we're going to cover today is, is your website kind of working for you or working against your salespeople when they're offering the MPS value proposition? So let's get started. Hopefully you've got that piece of paper there, and let's get on to the first question. Regarding MPS compensation, like I said, it's the hottest topic that we discuss with our resellers. So how would you answer this question from 1 to 10? We have the perfect compensation plan in place to promote MPS adoption. Does that sound like your organization, or is that something you want to work on? And I just wanted to put up what, in the surveys that we have done with over 700 of our resellers, what the most popular MPS compensation model is. And that is to pay the rep the value of the first month's MPS billing. And what we like about that is it's simple. And, salespeople in our industry are very coin operated. A lot of them come from the copier space where they're used to making commission when they place that copier sale for the first time. So this is the most popular MPS business model out there today. And because it's an entire webinar all on its own, and we're not going to talk about it today, we just don't have time, we've included, courtesy of EMX, we've included a free guide that you can download at the end of this presentation that details 14 of the compensation programs that our resellers use in the field today. And those deal with just regular MPS specialists and how to motivate them, as well as kind of hybrid models for how you would compensate reps that have other duties as well, like copier sales, for example. So check that out at the end of the webinar if you're interested. Second question regarding LinkedIn rep profiles. This is probably my favorite question. I'll come to that in just a second. But all my reps' LinkedIn profiles are professional and complement our business objectives. Is that something you would score low on or high on? And let me kind of give a background to this. So I've been in the States for about 7 or 8 years now, and in my previous life, I was responsible for the enterprise level sales of my company before I joined LMI. And I can say, hand on heart, LinkedIn is the most powerful prospecting tool that I have ever used, and it, hands down, just really helped me be successful in my company. And I'm hoping that you guys feel the same way. I'm sure that your sales team are using LinkedIn in a daily basis to connect to the principals in the customers that you are looking to work with or working with today. But it is a double-edged sword, so we just want to dwell a bit briefly and share with you some of the best practices that we feel that you should adopt. The first thing is your sales managers need to be looking at the reps' profiles. Because LinkedIn, the first way that a sales rep uses LinkedIn is when they're looking for a job, when they were trying to find you and your company. So their LinkedIn profile was pretty much their resume, and that's what LinkedIn was designed for, a place to put resumes. So you wouldn't be surprised to see that your sales reps say things like, I am a top performer, I was 120% a target for the last 5 years, I'm a sales machine, I'm always closing. You know, statements like that were the reason that you were attracted to them, for example. But now that they've got that job with you, that's not really what a customer wants to hear. You know, a customer that is speaking to your sales rep doesn't want to hear how he's going to grind them down until he gets that purchase order from. Instead, as part of your onboarding process, our resellers tell us that that you should get them to change their LinkedIn profile so it speaks about the value that salesperson will bring to a customer that decides to work with them. So you want to change things like their headline and the summary of their skills from, hey, I'm A1 sales guy, to my job is to deliver document management solutions and workflow improvements and cost savings to my customers and things like that. And if possible, your rep should solicit recommendations from existing customers that you work with that speak to that value statement. And of course, the first thing that people are going to see is the picture of that you put up there. So it's really important that you ensure that you have a professional headshot and not some inappropriate picture that's more suitable for Facebook, for example. I was certainly guilty of this until very recently. My shot on my LinkedIn profile was me wearing a tuxedo, looking a bit like James Bond at a wedding. Not really suitable for customers, but would have made a great Facebook picture. So we recommend that you change your rep's photograph on LinkedIn and you have a much more engaging professional headshot that speaks to the value that they will bring to your customers. We also recommend that, you know, salespeople are probably going to need some help with this, so you should template out the kind of things you want them to put in their profile and guide them in this process. So have some kind of company policy coming from your HR department stating how you want your sales reps to represent themselves on LinkedIn. So the question relating to technology, you're a technology provider, right? So do you use technology in order to sell to your customers? So how would you score on this question from 1 to 10? My reps use technology to sell technology solutions. Does that sound like your company? And you know, the backstory to this is, who looks more professional? The lady on the right with, you know, a load of paper-based documents explaining her value proposition, or the gentleman on the right there who's using an iPad and is presenting information to the customer on a technology device. You know, I think something like an iPad or an Android tablet is incredibly powerful to talk to a customer with and say, hey, one of the objectives of managed print services is to reduce unnecessary print, is to give you excellent electronic document workflow solutions so you don't have to print every single document, and that's going to lower your costs. And of course, if you're going to make that sales proposition, you should really be using the technology that you are suggesting that your customers should use. Another thing in this area is that often resellers kind of co-op OEMs and other infrastructure providers documents on managed print services. So this kind of hodgepodge of documents from their remote monitoring software provider, their TCO tool provider, the OEM they buy their hardware from, or the company they buy their consumables for. Compare that to how the power behind the presentation, if you get your marketing department to rebrand that fragmented information and consolidate it into a coherent message, preferably that is presented through some kind of electronic device like an iPad. And this, for example, this next slide kind of shows you what that might look like. It's showing an iPad application that we provide for our resellers, but there are other solutions out there that you can draw upon, of course. A couple of best practices: learn the hard way from some of our resellers, so avoid these easy mistakes to make. But the first thing is, if you're going to present information to a customer, it needs to be preloaded onto that device. Try and avoid it being accessible only through the internet. I'm sure a number of you guys work with the healthcare vertical, and hospitals seem to be hardened, it would seem, against internet signals and mobile signals. So the last thing you want is to be in the basement of a hospital presenting to a new customer, and you can't show them any of the information that you have for them because you can't get an internet signal. So try and avoid that kind of Bill Gates moment, and make sure that all of your content is preloaded onto the tablet. Second thing is, you need a way, a methodology that is easy, and to do this remotely in a lot of cases, to add or delete reps that leave the company. The last thing you want is for all of your expensive, hard-earned, and proprietary content to leave with your rep and make their way to another competitor should they leave your organization, for example. And thirdly, we're going to come on to this in a little bit more detail in a second, but you need to have invested in compelling content, and preferably video-based information. Video is incredibly important. I know a number of business principals are on this call right now. Think about it. If someone was prospecting you, what would you rather view? A 2-page, 1,000-word document in text, or a quick 30 to 60-second video that explains my proposition? I think you know the answer to that. Question number 4, how do you score on this from 1 to 10? MPS training. We provide excellent managed print sales training for all our salespeople. And you'll notice I've crossed out the word sales because the top resellers that we work with have moved beyond training just their sales team and are now training at least to a minimum competency standard on the value proposition everybody in the organization that touches the customer. From the receptionist that picks up the phone to the order processing people that dispatch toner cartridges, what the best resellers are doing that we speak to, and it's having powerful results, is making sure that anybody that talks to a customer can answer the basic questions around the MPS value proposition to that customer when they speak to them. And don't forget the guy on the right-hand side there, the trusted partner of most of your customers, the field service technician, who's in and out of your customers all the time, getting them back up and running when that device breaks down. I'm sure you know that field technicians are, they're the best salespeople of your organization in a lot of cases. They're like a ninja underneath the radar. Customers trust them, trust their opinions because they're there working for them. So it's really important that you train these guys so that when they're out in the field and they see a customer that's struggling for whatever reason, that they know when it's right to recommend a managed print solution for that particular customer. So make sure that you've trained those guys too. And we touched upon it at the beginning, but of course, training is not cheap. It's expensive, and from a logistical perspective, it's difficult because you have to arrange for people to be in classrooms. You've got to arrange for the trainer. You've got to get a bunch of people together to make the actual training session worthwhile. So, with companies like LMI and other people in the marketplace, there are other options for you now to co-op companies' on-demand video-based training. And video-based training has a number of advantages beyond the fact that per seat it's much cheaper than classroom training. The fact is it's on-demand 24/7. You hire a new salesperson today, you can train them tonight. They can, so you can get that person up and running much, much quicker than trying to coordinate a classroom session for them. And if you look there, just at, say, the first module there, why MPS? Just one module there that would be perfect training for all of the people that touch customers in your organization, so that at least they knew what MPS was and they could have a reasonably intelligent conversation with a customer should they express an interest into it, rather than having to just hand that person off to, oh yeah, don't know anything about that. Let me find a salesperson for you. Fifth question. So how's everybody doing? Hopefully you're still with me. You haven't drifted off into email. Have you kind of got any great tips and techniques yet? Again, I just wanted to, remind you, this content is not stuff that we dreamed up in our business. This is content that comes through from surveys of our customers. More than 700 resellers have provided us this information. So, thanks to them for allowing us to present it to you. So the fifth question relating to sales tools. My reps have compelling sales tools and presentation aids to engage prospects. Does that sound like your business? And this is kind of the stuff that our resellers are telling us that it's the minimum that you really need to invest in today. Of course, old-fashioned prospecting brochures, but videos, on-demand videos, are a way to go in today's competitive marketplace. And if you're wondering about, is video really worth it? Is it worth making the investment in video? Let me remind you that YouTube is the #2 searched site in the world after Google. It's the second most popular web page on the planet. And think about yourself and your family and everybody you know. We're using YouTube to search for things that we're interested in. So I just put up a screenshot of one of our customers, Governor Business Solutions, that have embraced video in their website and have embedded a welcome video on the front page of their website. And when customers go to it to learn about the benefits of managed print services, they'll be transported to their YouTube page. So the customer, when he's done watching that 60-second video, can then view all the other content relating to the print industry, imaging, managed print services, all the things that Governor have loaded up to their YouTube page. Now, think about the customer's reaction to that. You and I and everybody, we are, I believe it's something like 57% of buyers thoroughly research a company on the internet before picking up the phone and engaging with a salesperson. Now imagine the power of a customer that's interested in Governor, that goes to their YouTube channel, learns everything about both Governor and managed print services and the latest things that are happening in the industry. From all of that free content, they've just probably learned everything they need to know in order to select a company like Governor to be their managed print service partner. Who do you think they're going to select in this particular case? Governor or some other competitor that just sent the sales guy along with none of this material? Sixth question relating to presentation aids. Our reps have industry-specific presentation aids. Well, this kind of takes things a little bit further from Governor's webpage. And I just wanted to show you Gorilla Station front page of their website. So again, they've invested in a video that talks about the benefits of managed print, but they've gone a stage further, and they now have video presentations and brochure material that's specific to industry verticals that they operate within. So think about this. Imagine that a hospital invites Gorilla to come and talk to them about managed print services and one of Gorilla's competitors. And the competitor shows up and talks about managed print from a holistic perspective, from a, this is what managed print is and this is the benefits that companies can derive from it. And then that sales rep leaves and the Gorilla rep comes in and shows the customer on an iPad the vertical market video that relates to that hospital in the healthcare industry and speaks specifically to the benefits that a hospital like them could derive from managed print services. Which one of those competitors, those providers, do you think is more likely to make a good impression upon that hospital? Who do you think that hospital is going to say, hey, these guys are the partner for us, they understand our business model? So we would encourage you, to take advantage of this best practice and look at investing in specific industry vertical marketing information to support your sales team. So the question relating to competition. We are 100% up to speed on what our competitors are doing. Try and score this one from 1 to 10 from a salesperson's perspective in your team. You know, you might know as a business principal your competitors, but what about your salespeople? And of course, they're the guys that are in front of the customers, handling the objections, persuading the customer why they should choose your organization over, you know, another, for example. I just wanted to leave you with this, give you this quote, which of course, you know, lets you know that there's nothing really new at all, because this book is 2,000 years old, and it speaks very clearly to that statement, which is, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. It's incredibly important to understand your competitors. And here's a really easy exercise for you to do in your next sales meeting. So Google managed print services in your local market. If you're in New York City, managed print services in New York City. If you're in Atlanta, Georgia, my old stomping ground, then managed print services in Atlanta, Georgia. And you're looking for a few things here. First one is, do you come up? Does your organization rank? You know, and why that's important is that the internet is the great leveler. So when your competitors go out and they speak to new prospects about managed print services, what is that customer going to do when the salesperson leaves? And what they're most likely to do is go to Google and go, well, you know, that guy was interesting. I'm very interested in managed print services. I wonder who else in my area does this. I should probably get another quote just to make sure I'm getting a good deal before I make a decision on who the partner should be. So if you don't come up in that Google search, then you're probably not going to get a phone call from that prospect, and your competitor's going to kind of win that business by default. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, imagine your salesperson. The roles are reversed. He goes and finds a new prospect and switches them on, and they're really interested in managed print, and he leaves. What are they going to do? Well, they're going to Google and try and see who else does managed print in their area. Who are they going to find? So it's really important that you know when your prospect Google's managed print services in Atlanta, Georgia, who else is going to come up. And you need to explore their website. You need to know what their offering is, and you can glean all that from that storefront. And then your salespeople can be prepared to handle any objections, or, you know, to be able to defeat the competitor in terms of their offering and why yours is superior. Number 8, website messaging. Our website is perfectly aligned and up to date with our sales messaging. So, you know, does that sound like your company? And the reason why this is important is that MPS isn't monolithic. So think about when you got into managed print services and you started putting content onto your web page. What was it, 2010, 2011? You know, how much of that content is relevant with how you present managed print services through your salespeople today? So when a salesperson has finished a particular customer's site and leaves, no doubt your prospect is going to go to your website, try and find out more, fill in the, you know, they're going to think of some other questions and they're going to want to seek answers. Does your website complement the sales process, or is your content out of date and working against you? Number 9, sustainability. Our reps have a great sustainability story to tell our customers. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, sustainability and environmental leadership are in our DNA at LMY Solutions. It's incredibly important to us. It's one of the pillars, foundations of our company that our president and CEO, Gary Willett, put into our business when he created and grew the company. We want to make sure that we operate a zero-waste organization, that we don't send things to landfill, that we do recycle things properly, and we hold ourselves accountable for that. But we also get that not every company is like that. And, you know, coming out of the Great Recession, a lot of companies are very, very price-focused. And doing the right thing in your business from an environmental perspective generally costs money. So if your sustainability initiatives are expensive, I get that, you know, you're probably not going to win that piece of business. So it's a fine line, a tightrope that you need to walk carefully on. But our customers are telling us that if the price is close, more and more companies will pay extra to know that that their MPS providers are doing the right things, like recycling empty toner cartridges, disposing of cardboard packaging that things are delivered to the provider in, for example. And if you're familiar with undertaking RFPs, if you operate in the education sector or government sector, then I'm sure that you started to see more and more language making its way into RFPs, talking and asking you, just like this one here from Maine Township High School, to describe how you propose to help the organization dispose of associated waste not recycled through our existing programs and environmentally friendly methods. So with that being said, how well equipped are your salespeople to talk about the sustainability initiatives that you offer in your business? And respectfully, I've been a salesperson myself, it can be pretty difficult to wrap your head around this kind of category. So again, this is where using technology and using videos can really come into play, because if you're a salesperson, you may have just wrapped your head around managed print services, but you may not be kind of up to speed on how to present sustainability. So what do? Well, if you've got a video on your iPad device, you can then present that to the customer, and then that allows you, as the business owner, to make sure that you're presenting the right information, you're controlling the talk track with that organization. Last question relating to recurring revenues. We are great at converting transactional toner business into recurring revenues. Is your business good at that? Would you score between, low down in the ones, or is that something you're excellent at? And the reason we kind of talk about it is that a lot of our resellers have told us that they've turned a number of customers away, especially in that SMB space, because they offered like a one-size-fits-all managed print service offering for their customers, and they didn't have any stepping stones to take a customer from transactional business up to a managed print service engagement. So we feel it's really important, based on the feedback that we've received, for you to offer some kind of crawl, walk, run versions that bring customers from transactionally buying toner cartridges and service calls from you and seeking out your competitors, and instead you begin to move them to more of a managed environment. Maybe you offer a kind of a nursery program where you offer just-in-time supplies for fulfillment for the customer, use some kind of level of remote monitoring. Or maybe you offer toner to the customers, and in return you offer free service. I've heard of programs like that. So don't turn customers away because you have a managed print program that isn't flexible to other customers' needs. And just kind of finishing up, I just wanted to leave you with this quote, which is that managed print services is just another way of invoicing the customer for the products and services you're already providing. Sometimes we make managed print really complicated, or as I just said then, we have a one-size-fits-all package and nothing else. And it doesn't need to be that way. We can simplify it, we can tailor it to meet customers' ever-changing requirements. So as I wrap up, add up your scores on your piece of paper. How did you do? The benefit of a webinar is you don't actually have to share this with everybody. But my recommendation is that you concentrate on the questions where you scored low, 1, 2, 3, for example, and then hopefully the content that we share with you from our resellers will give you some ideas of tips, techniques, and best practices that you'll be able to implement in your business to help you win more customers and equip your sales team to be better ready and prepared for 2016. So as I wrap up, I just want to say thanks again for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you to our customers that provided the content to share with you, and thanks again to Ian X Magazine for hosting this. And don't forget, if you're interested in finding out more information, you can download the slide deck on our website, and you can obtain those free guides that I mentioned on the different compensation models that top resellers are using in the industry. And don't forget to check out the pro tips section on interview questions on how to screen and select salespeople that have got the right aptitude and capability to be a success in managed print services today. So once again, thanks very much. I appreciate your time.